Welcome back, guys, and today we're going to discuss writing a close analysis and critical interpretation of literature for 21st century literature in the Philippines and of the world. So let's start. So for today, we're going to discuss writing a close analysis and critical interpretation of literary texts. So for starters, here are topic for today: literature of the world, critical approaches to literature. We have Asian literature, North American literature, European literature, Latin American literature, and African literature. So let's start with literary text. Basically, a literary text is a piece of written material such as a book or a poem that has the purpose of telling a story or entertaining, as in a fiction novel. Its primary function as a text is usually aesthetic, but it may also contain political messages or beliefs. So if we are reading, let's say, a book, it's considered already a literary text, or even a simple poem, a simple sonnet is considered a literary text. And it's not just basically for entertainment purposes. It can be used to convey message, convey what is happening around you, and what is your political or beliefs, or political beliefs or religious beliefs also. So, critical approaches to literature, we always ask the following. Number one, what do we read? What do we usually read? Are we reading stories? Are we reading novels? Are we reading poems? Why do we read? What are the reasons why you are reading? Is it because you want to learn something? Okay, you want to understand the culture? Or you just want to entertain yourself? And how do you read? Do you just read for leisure? Or do you read critically? Do you go deeper to the meaning of the one that you are reading? So, for the 21st century literature from the world, we'll start with Asian literature. It refers to the literature of the people in China, Japan, India, and other small nations surrounding them. So basically, anything that is within the region of Asia and Southeast Asia are considered Asian literature. Most of them, like for example in China, the Art of War, that's one literature. In Japan, we have the haikus. In India, the Mahabharata. And of course, in our country, we have different literatures, like for example, Noli Me Tangere and El Fili by Rizal. So authors and representative texts from Asia. These are just some of the 21st century authors that we have. Some of them are familiar, some of them are not. So the first one is Latif Mohideen. Latif Mohideen is a poet, a painter, and was born in Nigeria, in Malaysia. He is known as the Boy Wonder. At the age of 11, he is an artist already. He has attended schools in Berlin, Germany, Paris, France, and New York, USA. He is considered to be one of the Malaysia's most treasured living artists. So, the one he created is In the Midst of Hardship. It's a poem that reminds us that life has its ups and downs. It puts forward the idea that life is not always comfortable and safe. There are good times and there are difficult or precarious times. Actually, I didn't read this one yet. So, I'm really curious on what this poem tells us. It's really timely because of the current situation that we have. So I suggest you Google this one, and you may post in the comment section what is your idea or what is your opinion regarding In the Midst of Hardship. And the critical approach here is formalism. Formalism refers to a critical approach that analyzes, interprets, or evaluates the inherent features of a text. These features include not only grammar and syntax, but also literary devices such as meter and figures of speech. The formalist approach reduces the importance of the text history, biographical, and cultural text. So basically, you are interpreting. Okay, you don't need to look at why did this person wrote this one, what is the background of the person or the author, and what is the culture of the author. But you will just look at what the message of the let's say a story, let's say a poem, okay, you will look deeper on the meaning. You will interpret the meaning of the text. That is formalism. So, questions to ask. What is the structure of the piece? What imagery is used? What symbols have helped convey a message? And what is the main theme of the literary work? You don't need to answer this one. These are just some questions that you may use during reading if you are more on formalism. So we have another one, Arundhati Roy. Arundhati Roy is an Indian author best known for the novel The God of Small Things, which won the Man Booker Prize for Fiction in 1997 and became the best-selling book by a non-expatriate Indian author. She is also a political activist involved in human rights and environmental causes. Okay, in our previous author, he is more on the ups and downs in life. Now, we have an author which is an activist, political activist. So most likely, her work would inject some political views in India. So her work, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, it is at once an aching love story and a decisive remonstration. It is told in a whisper, in a shout, through tears, and sometimes with a laugh. Its heroes are people who have been broken by the world they live in and then rescued, mended by love and by hope. Okay, I'm not really familiar with this one. Probably if I have more time, I would read this one. Okay. So what approach is used? It's Marxism. Marxism is based on the political and economic theories of Karl Marx, a German philosopher. It deals with the struggles of social and economic classes. The current struggle in modern history is the struggle between the rich and the poor. So basically, Marxism in history is the foundation of communism. Okay, it simply says that the lower classes or the poor should have equal rights with the rich. So, unlike in our situation right now, the rich became richer, the poor became poorer. Okay? In Marxism and in communism, the rich are the same as the poor. That is the ideal scenario. Okay, but in reality, that is not happening. So that is the approach being used by the author here. So what are the questions to ask if you are more on Marxism? How are the conflicts in the work connected to the struggle between the haves and have-nots, owners and workers, rich and poor? Another, what social economic forces affect the author's writing? And last, how does the work suggest that the life in a bourgeois society is empty? And say bourgeois, these are the rich people. Okay. And then, we'll go now to North American literature. Most of the literature written in North America has been written in English. English has been the language of most people living in North America since at least 1800s. Please take note that there are two kinds of English. That is American English and British English. Okay? The simple difference that you can see with American English and British English is are words that have the same meaning but different spelling. Like for example, in American English, the word color has a spelling of C-O-L-O-R, but in British English, its spelling changes, C-O-L-O-U-R. That's one. Another example is airplane. In American English, we call it as airplane because in the Philippines, we use American English. In Britain, Great Britain or United Kingdom, British English, it's not airplane but rather aeroplane. So A-E-R-O-P-L-A-N-E. Those are just some difference between those two English language. So please take note of that. Another, when we talk about North America, it's not just the United States. It includes the North American continent and Canada. Okay, so it's US plus Alaska and Canada. And below the North American continent, that's another topic for later. So authors and representative texts from North America. The first one that we have is Jan Martel. Jan Martel is a Canadian author best known for The Man Booker. I'm not really familiar with this one, but his work, The Life of Pi, I didn't watch the movie yet, so I'm not really familiar with the story. It is a story of a young man who survives a harrowing shipwreck and months in a lifeboat with a large Bengal tiger named Richard Parker. I'm not really familiar, but I read some summary of this one wherein the young boy and the tiger jump from one island to the other and experiencing some events that are related to life itself. I'm not really familiar. Probably I'll watch this one or I'll read the book. I'll look for an audiobook for this one. And we have John Michael Green. John Michael Green is an American author and YouTube content creator. He won the 2006 Prince Award for his debut novel, Looking for Alaska, and his fourth solo novel, The Fault in Our Stars, debuted at number 1 in the New York Times bestseller list in January 2012. So, The Fault in Our Stars was his most famous work because it was made into a movie. Okay? The Fault in Our Stars, it is a fabulous book about the young teenage girl who has been diagnosed with lung cancer and attends a cancer support group. Okay? Here, the young teenage girl met another lung cancer patient that smokes until they fell in love with each other and eventually became support mechanism for each other. Okay? For cancer patients, it is very important that there is a support group, that there is someone looking up to them so that they would not lose hope on their situation. Another take note for this one, cancer is happening every day to us. Cancer is basically abnormal cell growth. Our body is fighting the cancer cells with the help of our immune system. If we have a compromised immune system, there's a big chance that we could have cancer. Okay, that's the basic of cancer. And the number one reason for cancer is stress. So don't be stressed with your work. Don't be stressed with your studies. Okay, so take one step at a time and always think positive. So critical approaches, New Criticism. New Criticism emphasizes explication or close reading of the work itself. Essentially, with close reading, the reader will pay close attention to what is said and how it is written. So it's the same as formalism, okay? But here, you pay close attention on what the characters are telling, okay, or are saying in the story, or how the work is written, so that you would have a better understanding of what you are reading. Questions to ask. We have several questions. So first, what does the form of the work say about its content? Next, how does the work use imagery to develop its own symbols? Next, how are the various parts of the work interconnected? Another, how do paradox, irony, ambiguity, and tension work in the text? We also have, how do these parts and their collective whole contribute to or not contribute to the aesthetic quality of the work? How does the author resolve apparent contradictions within the work? And how do the rhythms and or rhyme schemes of a poem contribute to the meaning of or effect of the piece? That is for New Criticism. Let's jump down to Europe. It refers to the literature written in the context of Western culture in the languages of Europe, including the ones belonging to the Indo-European language. So here, you will see British English, you will see German languages, you will see Italian, French. So we'll focus on the most famous ones. So authors and representative texts from Europe. Of course, we could not skip this one because it is one of the most famous books authors in the world. Joanne Kathleen Rowling, or simply known as J.K. Rowling. Joanne Kathleen Rowling, or J.K. Rowling, is a British author, philanthropist, film producer, television producer, and a screenwriter. She is best known for writing the Harry Potter fantasy series, which has won multiple awards and sold more than 500 million copies, becoming the best-selling book series in the world. So basically, if you didn't like Harry Potter, or didn't watch Harry Potter, I can summarize it as this one. Okay. In the world of Harry Potter, there are two factions. Okay. In the wizarding world, the Mudbloods and the Purebloods. The Mudbloods are basically half Muggles. Muggles are non-magic people like us, and magic people. Okay. And Purebloods are basically purebloods. They are purely wizards, okay? Wizards and witches. So in the world of Harry Potter, they are divided into two. The purebloods want to rule everyone, even the Muggles, while the Half-Bloods or the Mudbloods would want to coexist with the Muggles. So there is a war between the two. Eventually, there's a group called the Order of the Phoenix. Okay? The parent of Harry Potter there sacrificed themselves for their son Harry, wherein Lord Voldemort, the leader of the Purebloods, okay, the Death Eaters, killed the parents of Harry Potter, but he was defeated by her mother because of her love to her son. And throughout the series, the story circled around how Harry discovered that he is a wizard, met friends, Hermione and Ron Weasley, became best of friends, became a wizard, sorted into Gryffindor even though he should be sorted in Slytherin, became a Quidditch player, a seeker, and all throughout the series, Lord Voldemort tried to return to power, but Harry Potter always do something to prevent that from happening. Okay? Until the last book, Deathly Hallows, okay, wherein Harry defeated Lord Voldemort. Okay? I will not go deeper on the story, but that is the shortest way on how I could summarize it. You may write on the comment section what I missed. There are a lot of things that I missed on the summary, but you may comment it down on the comment section. Okay. So literary work, of course, Harry Potter. It narrates the lives of young wizard Harry Potter and his friends Hermione Granger, Ron Weasley, and all of whom are students at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. There are a lot of things happening in the story, and I don't have enough time to summarize them all. So you may just look for a summary online, or you may want to read it, watch the movie, or listen to the audiobook. Alexander Hammond. Alexander Hammond is a Bosnian-American fiction writer, essayist, and critic. His best-known novels are Nowhere Man and The Lazarus Project. Okay. The Lazarus Project, it features the true story of death of Lazarus Averbach, a teenage Jewish immigrant to Chicago who was shot and killed by a police officer in 1908. I'm not really familiar with the story, so I cannot give my thoughts with this one. So, critical approach, romanticism. Romanticism emphasizes the emotions and imaginations within the human being. It was a movement that responded against the disillusions of the Enlightenment values of reason after the French Revolution of 1789. It presents humans as free entities who can make their own decisions without the influence of their environment. So I'll be using Harry Potter here. Just like what I mentioned earlier, in the Harry Potter world, in the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, it was divided into 4 houses. Okay? Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw. Before you could go to your houses, you will be sorted into those houses by a hat, the sorting hat. Okay? In the sorting hat, based on your abilities, you would be sorted. But with Harry, before he even been sorted to Gryffindor. He was the sorting hat. The sorting hat wants him to be sorted into Slytherin because of his abilities, his potential, and of course, in the story, Harry got part of the powers of or magic abilities of Lord Voldemort because of the sacrifices of his parents. So that's a giveaway already because Lord Voldemort is a Slytherin student when he's a student. Okay, so there, instead of going into Slytherin, he suggested not Slytherin. Okay, he tells the hat not Slytherin, not Slytherin, not Slytherin, until the sorting hat decided that he would be sorted into Gryffindor. Okay, that's one example of romanticism. So let's go now to Latin American literature. It consists of an oral and written literature of Latin America in several languages, particularly in Spanish, Portuguese, and the indigenous languages of the Americas, as well as literature of the United States written in the Spanish language. So authors and representative texts from Latin America. We have Kiera Cass. Kiera Cass is an American author who writes young adult fiction. She has written 6 novels and 7 novellas. Cass' books have reached number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list, and the Selection series in particular has been a massive success and selling millions of copies all over the United States. So we talk about the Selection series. It is a young adult novel by Kiera Cass, first published on April 14, 2012 by HarperCollins. It is the first in a 5-book series followed by the Elite, The One, The Heir, and The Crown. The last 2 take place 20 years after the events in the first 3. So, as I could recall, the Selection series is like a story like The Bachelor, but in a female version. So postmodernism is a critical approach. The idea of this first originated in architecture. It simply rejected the modernist way of doing things, trying to make things new. It is a skeptical interpretation of culture, art, history, architecture, and literature. In this approach, interpretation is everything. Reality only comes into being through our interpretation of what the world means to us. It marks the end of a single worldview. It resists unified, all-encompassing, and universally valid explanation. So basically, it tells us that reality is based on how we interpret the world. We don't have the same interpretation, so we don't have a single understanding of what is happening around us. So African literature, it refers to the literary works of the African continent, which consists of a body of work in different languages and various genres, ranging from oral literature to the ones written in colonial languages like French, Portuguese, and English. So authors and representative texts from Africa, we have Chinua Achebe. Chinua Achebe was a Nigerian novelist, poet, professor, and critic. He was best known for writing the novel Things Fall Apart, which first printed in 1958. It is the most widely read book in modern African literature. So let's talk about Things Fall Apart. It is a prime example of African literature that demonstrates the clash between cultures and peoples that occurred across the African continent as a consequence of European colonialism. Okay, and up until now, Africa is still having clashes between people, cultures, ethnic groups. Okay, it's not different from what is the author experienced in the past. Okay? Up until now, there are disputes. Up until now, there are problems happening in Africa. So this is very interesting story to read. Very interesting story to read. So critical approach, historical criticism. Historical criticism is also known as historical critical method or higher criticism, which investigates the origins of ancient texts in order to understand the world behind the text. It is a form of literary criticism in the light of historical evidence or based on the context in which a work was written, including facts about the author's life and the historical and social circumstances of the time. So here, you need to take into consideration the historical facts and how the life of the author is and the surrounding people around it, around the author, and also the environment where he or she lives to better understand why the story, why the poem was written that way. So, question, why do we need to understand the different literatures around the world? You may write your answer in the comment section down below. How will this knowledge help you with your future career? Again, you may post this video and write your answer on the comment section down below. Okay. For our next topic, we have 21st literary genres. So with that, I hope you learned something and we'll see you again next time.